Okay, welcome everyone to the podcast. Today we're going to actually talk about something that's really big in all of our lives. And the title of the podcast is The Blame Game: Why Employees Hate HR. Um, we're going to
Listen,
talk about wild and crazy, but realistic. Can I pause? Is that okay?
I'm just gonna say, you guys can't see this because we haven't published the video episodes, but I'm drinking a giant cup of haterade for this episode. Just letting you guys know.
Is that the big llama haterade?
It is available in the shop very soon.
Merch.
Sorry to
But
interrupt, sir.
You're cool. Wild and crazy, but realistic reasons people hate HR, which you shouldn't hate HR. You shouldn't hate us. We're here to help you and the company. So, first topic we're going to talk about is we're here for your lie. HR claims to support employees, but then when push comes to shove, they protect the company first every time. Mama Mel, what do you think about that?
Well, I want to poll the audience. Obviously, I can't see them, but I want to poll the three of you. Do you think that's more or less accurate?
I believe it's the position in this case, because like as an HR business partner, what my job was to do was to guide, lead, teach, grow, but also that was to help the business. But then as an HR business partner for employees, I was obligated, personally as the human resources person, but also there are laws that we have to follow. So I feel like it depends on your position. For me, it was when I was an HR business partner and I loved it.
I mean, I would tell you. All right, let's be real. It's kind of true. It's kind of true. Okay.
Telling our secrets.
No, I mean, it depends on how sappy your operations team lays this on, right? We're family. We're here for you. We're going to take care of each other. They lay that shit on so thick that you get rolled into it as an HR person. But I would be as honest as possible to anyone listening. I am there for me. I am there to help, guide, right? Provide leadership, mentorship, right? Guidance. But I am also there for self-preservation. I need a job. I think we all need a job. We don't want to get ourselves into liability. We don't want to do anything that's illegal. But at the same time, I am not going to do anything that jeopardizes my ability to earn dollars. So if I'm being an honest HR person or an honest person on this podcast, I'm telling you for real, like it's not that it's a lie. It just depends on how they lay it on you. And if you can be transparent, right? Be transparent, but it's hard to do. But honestly, I'm just trying not to get fired either. I'm trying to make sure that we're following the rules, the laws, and everything I'm supposed to do and not lose my job in the process. So it's a fucking, it's a pressure cooker.
Spicy.
I think it's also dependent on the scenario or the situation that you're dealing with, right? Because what's in the best interest of the employee oftentimes is not what's in the best interest of the company, but it is very dependent on the type of situation that you're dealing with. If you have, let me give you an example. If you have a employee who is constantly not showing up for work, they're not telling their leader that they're not going to come in, they're just not showing up. And then they come in and they claim all these personal situations that are going on. Also, as a human, because at the end of the day, we are human. Like, I am a human, I have a life, I have things going on in my life too, right? And so I can connect with you on a human level and feel very bad that you're experiencing all these things. But I also have to be able to recognize that it is not in the best interest of whatever company I work for to employ someone who is not reliable. So it's not that I'm looking out for the best of the company or that I'm only there for the company. It's not, it wouldn't be a smart business decision to keep someone that's not there. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I can totally empathize and connect with you on a human level, but that doesn't mean that I have to sway your way. And that doesn't make me a jerk because I don't sway your way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it is very dependent on whatever you're dealing with.
That's a good point. What about you, Jake?
I would say it's a misconception.
Mm.
People think that HR has to choose between the company or its people, but why can it not be both at the same time? And then it ties in with what Mom and Mel just explained. We're here for the company. The company is its people. So when you come to us with accusations and drama and gossip and unfathomable, tangible accusations, there's not really much we can do because in HR, it's not what we know. I've had plenty of accusations that have come to me, and I'm like, I 100% believe you. Now, how do we
Most of them
prove it?
about you.
You have to prove it. So, in situations, if management, the company, is in the wrong, then yeah, we absolutely will address it. And if the employee who's making the accusations is at fault, then we're not going to be on your side. So, therefore, it's perception. And employees seem to think just because they make a complaint, there's action to be taken. It does not matter what you know, it's what you can prove. HR is a lot like being in a court of law without a jury, and we're only basing the decision on tangible facts. So realistically, we're actually harder than the court of law because at least in court, you can persuade people on emotion, even though they're only supposed to take the facts. Not in HR. We can only use the facts because after that decision is made, we have to justify it to unemployment. We have to justify it to wrongful termination. We have to justify it to legal, to state. And we can't do that by having them experience the emotion we experienced. We can only do
Right.
it with facts. So perception.
I like that. That's a good point. It's a very good point. I think all of us offered out something pretty valuable in this case because we all, even though we are HR, we experience being HR differently too.
Mhm.
And I think in this case, this brings me to kind of what you kind of said there, Jake, from HR, the Bermuda Triangle of complaints. You file a complaint, HR acknowledges it, then poof, it disappears, never to be spoken of again.
Mm.
What do y'all think? Does that happen?
So I want to start this one because I know what causes the Bermuda Triangle, or at least what feeds into it for the employees. So this is what makes employees think that HR does not address problems. The problem is HR is not communicating. Leadership's not communicating because when an employee files a complaint and we look into it and it's unsubstantiated or there's no action that can be taken or yeah, you didn't like what happened, but unfortunately it's not a policy violation. There's no, a lot of times, not saying all the time, but a lot of times there's no follow up to that employee to sit them down and tell them, I'm sorry, there's no action that can be taken. And I think what causes that a lot of times, especially with larger organizations, is that direction, that guidance is put back on operational leadership to have that conversation. And they're about as effective as a kite in the middle of a tornado storm. They're not doing it. It ain't working.
I love the
I love,
analogy.
yeah.
So
Those are,
I completely agree with you. Bad follow up. You have to follow up as HR. I know it's difficult, and considering if you're in employee relations or do mostly that kind of job where you do investigations, it's always best to tie the bow. Tie the bow.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, I will not sit here and deny that there are situations that do exist in the work where there have been people that should not be in HR who have buried cases, and there has been leadership that has buried cases. That does exist, and unfortunately, the small percentage of those individuals tend to represent the largest portion of the company because the light gets shined the brightest on them. So when that happens, it gives HR a bad name, it gives leadership a bad name, but that's not the majority of the cases when that triangle occurs.
Kenny, have you ever had anybody say like they just didn't accept your answer?
Well, this is my whole thing. Yes, I have had them not believe my answer, or they think that I'm siding with the company, right? That's again goes back to that perception issue. But it's a I think the Bermuda Triangle happens for a couple of reasons, and one of them is, unfortunately, we are not the operation, right? We are not running the show. We're
Mhm.
simply advising. And it depends on the structure of your HR department, but we are simply advising, and we provide feedback, and we provide a plan, right? We say, okay, here's how you're going to address it. Here you're going to talk to Joe Smith, and you're going to this guy's going to sexual harassment training. That person's going over this. So like you're coordinating this effort of here's how we're going to address it. Either it's legit, it's not legit, and then unfortunately, a lot of the reason you think it's Bermuda Triangles, we can't really get into specifics with people, right? We're not going to go toe for item by item, line by line with the complaint person and say, oh yeah, when you said they said this, yeah, that's exactly what we heard. We're just going to say your issue was either substantiated or not substantiated, and then we're going to say it's being addressed appropriately, because we can't get into who got disciplined, who's getting suspended, who's getting training. And
You'll
so,
find out the
unfortunately,
suspension though.
right. And so, well, yeah. Hey, so and so's not here anymore. But no, but I think that's the thing is they will start to form this perception of like, oh, they made it disappear, it made it go away, because they're trying to cover it up, or they're siding. Yep, they're siding with management. But yeah, no. Sometimes it's that. Other times, and I've experienced this. Sometimes it's the level of employee who's involved. And so you're asked to shut up about it. And so when you're in those situations, that's a pretty tough. I mean, that for me, I've done my job by investigating it and reporting back. So if you don't do anything with my information, there's nothing I can do at that point. I can raise the flag, right? But then now I'm putting myself out there. And occasionally it's fair, and you should do it, right? But like sometimes the level of employee you're investigating will then dictate what happens next. If they make a lot of money for the company, if they are at a high level position and they have exposure to the public, you're not pitting them with sexual harassment training. It'll be a noted item, and then they'll basically just walk free. And so there is some legitimacy to that, the Bermuda Triangle, when it involves sometimes high level officials. But you have to understand how to navigate in those waters as an HR professional. And then remember that the truth will set you free, right? Which is you stick to what you know. Don't deviate from your story. And if they tell you you don't talk about it, you don't talk about it. But when you're sitting in a court of law or an arbitration, or some kind of hearing of some sort, you say the truth. That's it. You speak truth. You say, did you investigate? Yes. Did you provide a recommendation? Yes. Did they follow through? No. Who's responsible? That would be their operations team. Again, you just have to be very open and clear about what you're discussion is. But if they know your character, they won't put you in that position. But some people will play along. So that's the problem. We get lumped into that.
So I want to throw in something that most people don't think about. Even most people in HR don't even think about this. And I only really have experience with it because of one of the larger organizations I've worked for, that there's been plenty of investigations I've been a part of where they should have resulted in terminations. They should have resulted in terminations. That was the standard. That's the policy expectation. But when it all boiled down to it, we didn't term, not because they didn't violate policy, not because we're showing favoritism, but because when you look at that person who's making reversed accusations back to the company and they fall in protected classes, and then we look at what court cases are being actively challenged and are in trial, and how much money it's costing organizations to pay out millions of dollars, not because they didn't follow the law, not because they weren't right, but just because this person falls in a particular category. The company's not willing to risk that much money. So what they'll do is they place the employee on a specific accountability, and they try to draw it out until those court cases have passed long enough that, you know, they can't be used to hurt them if they get drug into court. So there's things that even in HR, I don't agree with it. But when you're looking at a case that's potentially going to cost you a $10 million settlement over putting someone on a final and giving them one last chance that no other person would have gotten, I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, especially when we think about. I liked your point too, Big Llama, where we think about we still overall work for the organization. We still get paid by the organization. So for the listeners, always please remember in the back of your head that HR is still paid by the organization just like you are. And like you said, when we're told to shut up, shut up. But when it comes to the law and legalities, tell the truth. Open it up, because at that point, you're fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because unless they are breaking a law, we have a fiduciary obligation to the business.
Nicely said. Mama Mel, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a couple. So I want to just encourage, right, listeners and even ourselves, that when there is something going on at work and it is severe enough where it's impacting your, environment, we don't want any of these conversations to like deviate you away from reporting. We're absolutely not saying that because we're being told to shut up, or because of the level of employee or where they're at in the hierarchy, that we don't want you to come forward and let us know when things are off. Certainly, right? But there the one thing that I want listeners that are not in the HR world to take away from this one is that, contrary to popular belief, we are not the executioner. And often, most times, dare I say 90% of the time, we give our recommendation, but it is not our final decision to give. So it kind of takes me back to the first misconception, or the first perception, where HR is only there for the company. We can provide the recommendation that is best, for the best outcome for that specific scenario, but because it doesn't align with what you want, or because we're not following up with you and telling you what we did with everybody else, that doesn't mean that it wasn't investigated.
Correct.
When you said that, Mama Mel, I'm sitting here imagining HR in a courtroom. We're not the jury. We're not the judge. We're not the defense attorney. We're not the prosecutor. We're that guy in the back corner screaming at everyone what they should do that no one's listening to.
That the judge is saying, one more time and you're in contempt of court.
You're in contempt.
You're in contempt.
Sit down.
Yeah. No, and to Mama Mel's point, the scenarios that I've experienced where I said that they tell you to be quiet in a level, it's an exception, right?
Mhm.
For the most part, it's a pretty particular situation, and it can happen. But again, if you're an honest HR person, it does not happen all of the time. And most of the time, you if you're able to do your job effectively, they'll listen. Again, the problem is how you present information, and also your relationship with the operations team. Like, are
Yeah, I was
you
gonna say
chummy
if
with
they
them?
trust you. Well,
Yeah,
if they trust you, they'll follow your recommendation.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. But if you are showing that you are for the company, right, and you don't ever push back, you're going to get yourself into a pickle, because they're expecting you to say something that's for them, right? You always have to be fair and consistent in how you deliver. But yeah, what I've expressed is there are exceptions.
Yeah.
And when that does happen, people will then say nothing ever gets taken care of at HR. So,
Yeah. And for the listeners, just to give some clarity to calm down that panic attack that's happening right now, while there's no official percentage, I want to say 98% of investigations that are conducted by HR, 98, 99, they're legit, they're done right. You just don't have all the details. It's that 1% of the horror stories that we're sharing
of
that are
course.
not applicable to the majority of the teams, the majority of the companies, the
Mhm.
majority of the investigation. So just know that 99% of the time things are being done right. They're just not being done in a way that you necessarily agree with.
True.
Absolutely. I agree. And I think this kind of brings us into like slides us into our next topic, and I like this one because I have personally coached people when it comes to what you say in HR, whether it's through a termination, whether it's in court, or whether it's to an employee. The best advice I can give you is use that vague speak. Even if you're not 100%, you're like, you have your own self doubt. Y'all tell me, sometimes I have my own self doubt. Like, well, I gaslight myself. I go, wait, I'm 2%. I might be 2% wrong. So we, at least I do. I like using the phrase of, there's here that's we'll look into it. Um, Mine is could, should, and would. Um, we could do that. We should do that. Mm. Would we do that? And like those are my words that I always use because number one, it's not a definitive word. We are doing or we are this. So I like it because it makes me feel like okay, well I can still be right and wrong at the same time.
I have a doctorate in vague speak. I'll just tell you that.
My
Well,
man.
I think we're forgetting about the most important language. Doesn't matter what
Can't
comes
use
out of
those
your mouth.
words on here.
Your face, your body language. Like
Mm.
the things like when people come in, like if there's a complaint and they're like, I was just sexually molested. And I actually have had a complaint like that. I'm like, like, let's take a breath. What do you mean by that? And then, but I've literally sat in offices with other HR representatives and leadership where they're like, oh my God, that's terrible. I can't believe that happened to you. It's like, but they're and even and then you have the ones that are in the middle where it's like they're saying, okay, I hear you, but their face is like it looked like someone just hit them in the face with a pan, like they're shocked. And it's like, oh my God, your language just said that I want to help the situation. I don't know which way yet, but your body just said, I'm on your side. And the employee
Right.
walks out of there thinking you're on their side because you look shocked, you looked offended. So you got to be careful what category you fall into because you don't want to be the one that's vocal and taking everyone's side immediately. You don't want to be the one that is you're saying the right things, but your face is not saying the right things. And trust me, we've all seen those managers, we've all seen those HR representatives where like the person walked out and they're like, I took care of it. I'm like, yeah, but your face did nothing. Your face did too much. It did everything. It did nothing. Your face was a lawsuit.
I
I
feel
don't like
attacked.
your face just attacked me. Like, so yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. Stay neutral, stay open, tell me more. Why do you feel that way? Give me specifics. but your body language has to match your words. And honestly, that is hard without practice. That's not a skill set you can get in a few months to a year. That takes years of practice. And I always joke with people, but I'm serious. I think sometimes the best people in HR are your crazy ex. They're good at manipulating you. They're good at hiding emotions. They're good at making you think what they want you to think, and they're good at making you think it was your idea to think it. It's creepy. They're not the right person to be in HR, but they would look like the right person to be in HR.
This is why you don't marry HR people. Like HR people cannot marry each other. Like
I was
there's
about to
there,
say, wait a minute.
no. There's a compatibility issue, meaning like you cannot have two HR professionals married because unfortunately they will vague speak to each other all the time.
Could
And
you
then they're like,
imagine
and
an
then they're like
argument
sharing
of
stories. Like my story is better than your. No, wait, where's your story? No, and it's like no, you need someone just to absorb your story. Like we cannot be going back and forth, rivals on stories. But no,
I do that. I do that with my husband.
Oh,
I'll come home and he'll be like, "Oh, the kids did this and the kids did that," and I'm like, "Well, let's take a pause. Give me the specifics. What day did this happen on? Were any of the other kids around that saw this?" And we've been together for 16 years, so then he just looks at me because he knows all the HR language, and he's like, "Quit talking to me like this is an investigation. I don't have to prove to you I'm right. I'm the parent." And I'm like, "Yes, but like I need that confidence that when I scream at them, I'm confident that I'm right because I didn't witness it."
when I
Like,
oh no, I've gotten the don't use your HR voice on me.
Mhm.
I've been told don't use my drill sergeant voice.
That might be kind of hot though, Dr. B.
Thank you. I appreciate you like my hotness.
I never get told anything.
No.
Aww.
that's because
So-
you did your job and trained him well. So.
Yes, you're a very good HR wife.
You were very good talent acquisitions.
Tell
There
me
you
more.
go.
Tell me more. Keep it coming.
Yeah.
But I
You
can
did a good
side-
job on new hire orientation. You did a great
That's
job.
right.
Go.
That's right.
With effective follow-up.
I vetted my candidates.
You know what? I'm gonna throw a nugget out there. I really think we should do a segment on dating as an HR person.
Oh man.
I was about to go and say something like into that because I liked your point, Big Llama, when you're like, HR, don't marry HR. Because vague speech is so real. And I'll tell you why. Because I've known people who they are HR and then they marry HR. And then my favorite HR marry operations. But that's a whole nother story. It's like I should get off at 4:30. And then you arrive at home at 8 o'clock and it's, why weren't you home? I said I should be at home at 4:30. I didn't say I was going to be home at 4:30.
Right, exactly.
So it's back and forth with the vague speak.
And,
Well,
and then
know-
they know the tricks then. Like why
Mhm.
weren't you home? Yeah, I know that you weren't working on performance reviews. That's next week. Like,
Oh.
shit.
Oh.
Dun,
I'd be
dun,
curious.
dun.
I'd be curious. How do you know the performance are due next week? I hope we don't work for the same company.
Oh,
I'm your boss. Whoa.
no, damn.
Well,
It's a
you
whole
know
nother
what
dynamic.
what the plus side would be of dating someone in HR is, when you're beefing at home and then you got to go out in public and be fake. Because
yeah.
we got the professional facade down. Pros, nobody would know that you're beefing with your significant other because you can do it. We do it all the time.
Unless your
Listen.
significant other is
I want to do a
different.
poll one day. I want to do a poll with everyone that works in HR and how long they've been in a successful relationship or what their longest relationship has been. Because I feel like people in HR are so good at controlling their emotions and controlling themselves. And if we want to be blunt, okay, we can call it being fake or being neutral, whatever you want to call it, because we have to control our emotions. I would love to know how many people in HR are successful, or do we have terrible relationships and we just happen to be the select few that are in long-term relationships?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you three are successful long term. I'm still new in mine, but it's because we've got that facade. But although I have seen some HR folks be extremely unprofessional and not in control at all of their emotions. Just
Yeah.
burst out and say the wildest things, and I'm like, you are an HR professional. Pull it together.
Yeah. Mhm. You mean we're not gonna? You mean we don't have anyone in HR taking polls to do things like the Biggest Loser challenge?
Jake, we're going to have to talk about this whole polls thing because you mentioned the word poll a lot.
I heard him say, "I want to be a poll," and I'm like,
"I want to be a poll." That's what I heard. Like,
well, because I
don't
have my setup today, so I'm having to resort to these earbuds.
Got it. But no, I just wanted to say that I don't, again, I'm stepping outside of the topic of our HR podcast to say the following. Ladies, you have an innate ability, an amazing ability to investigate the minute details of anything. Magnify that by like 1,000 when she's an HR professional. Okay.
Right.
So there's no like, I'm sorry, I meant to do the dishes, but you know what happened was she's already psychoanalyzed the first word out of your mouth. She knew where you went. She's got the facts. She's asking you questions in that HR method. I'm telling you, that is just
pictures.
I mean,
yeah,
it's a recipe.
This is how it goes down. This is how it goes down, guys. Babe, honey, sweetheart, whatever you call your significant other. You know what makes me feel so appreciated is when you helped with the dishes the other night. I really felt like you cared about my well-being. I really appreciate that I can count on you to support me. You know that, I have a lot going on at work this week, and I feel so appreciated by you. I love when you do things like that around the house. Okay. You're welcome.
Yeah. And then you marry somebody in HR and they come back at you with,
yeah,
I love to hear that for you. And to tag into that, I love this time that we have doing things together and sharing responsibilities. It makes us so much stronger as a team. It's like
that is an argument. That is like a passive aggressive argument that's happening.
It is.
It is.
Well, that's why I'm not married to a woman, so I don't have to worry about it. So.
Okay, so we're going to go passive aggressiveness in HR. That can be another topic that we can get into, and how you see it and what goes on. And do you just go whenever two people are doing it to each other at work, and you're just like, you're shocked? Did you really just say
it's like the birthday comment from last week. Have the birthday you deserve.
Oh yes, exactly.
I love that for you, Dr. Green.
I love that for you.
I feel attacked twice now. Okay, just saying. Facial expressions was me because it took me so long. Because I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. Normally, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy. It depends on the day if something's going on, or if it's. Look, I'll tell you, rain just makes me like, I typically won't be in a happy mood, but sunshine, I'm like, all right, it's a great day. And then I get into a conference, and we've all experienced this. Somebody does something stupid in that call, and I'm just like, are you serious? So it took me years but I still do it, especially in HR calls, because it's just HR. I'll make all the dumb faces. I'll be like, did you Big Llama,
I wasn't going to say that. But sunshine and food makes you happy. I know that. Those are your go-tos.
Crawfish
Craw
makes me
daddy.
happy.
No, I was going to say, in those calls, I'm not making the faces. I'm texting Mel.
Yeah, I was like, we're texting each other, going, "Did you hear this say that?" And I'm the one going, "Say what?"
With a fudge
I'm
puff in his
multitasking.
hand.
With a fudge
Yeah,
puff.
exactly.
Okay, so moving into the next one. This one, the policy police.
Oh,
You should know the policy,
Ugh.
right? You need to leave work
Mhm.
early for an emergency? Nope, denied. Boss makes you work 60-hour weeks? Mm-mm. Let's check the handbook for that. Somehow, HR policies only seem to exist when they benefit the company. I disagree. Go ahead, Mama
We're
Mel.
triggered. We're all
Listen.
I
triggered.
can
Yes.
feel the vibe from Mel. Like,
Throw
Mel's ready to punch.
Instant throw punch. You know why I think that's a reason why people hate HR? It's because your leaders will say, HR said X, Y, and Z. And then we're instantly the bad guy. We're the buzzkill, the police, the principal. It's because if I'm having a difficult conversation with you as a leader, and I will not I will not take ownership of what I'm about to, if I'm about to put you on some type of disciplinary action or something, and I don't want to be the bad guy, like I still want you to be, I want to be cool with you. HR told me that I had to put you on this. I don't want to do this, but I have to do because the policy says, HR says that I have to. And that's why we are the police.
Right.
I feel like we're
and so for the listeners, I want to know where this perception comes from. 99% of the time, leadership goes to HR. What's the policy on this? What am I allowed to do?
Yes.
And we give them guidance. This is the policy. This is what we can. This is what we cannot do. This is my recommendation. But at the end of the day, the owner of that decision is ops. If they want to violate policy and do what they want to do, that is on them, because that comes back to bite them in the butt. If they want to follow policy and take our recommendation, because how many people have bought a car and went home and told their husband or wife, well, the salesman said I had to buy it. It's not my fault. I didn't want the car. The salesman told me to buy it. He said it was a great deal. I didn't want it. Like that's the equivalent to leadership in HR. Like, we did not tell you to do it. We told you if it was a good price. We told you if it was a terrible price. We told you if it had 7 miles on it. We told you if it had been in a car accident. It's your choice on what you do with that information. And then we only really, and this doesn't even apply to all companies, but we only really have executive authority or the ability to open door ourselves to our leadership team if it puts the company at risk or it violates the law. I mean, there's not really much we can do if they look at the policy and decide that they want to follow it to the letter, or they want to bend it just enough, because you know how companies like to leave policies very vague to where there's leeway for how it's used, and then it gets abused because perception becomes reality to 10 different managers. So I don't want to throat punch someone with you, Mama Mel.
That's another shirt idea. No, yeah. No, but for policy, I get so angry. Hulk rage out, throw punch angry. Because one, I don't know all of the policies. I don't know. I don't memorize them.
You're in HR. Why do you not know policies, sir?
Right.
I research them. You know, I look at them, I review them, and I go, hey, here's my interpretation of the policy. What I can't stand when we do that is like they're like looking for an angle, right, to do something that they know is not right. They're like, well, I read in the policy that we're allowed to term for XYZ. I'm like, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that at all. It says employees are just, should not be doing this, right? But it's not, it does not say anywhere that it's a fireable offense or whatever. I go, and then sometimes I got to tell them, like, if you want it to be a fireable offense, put it in policy, put it in writing. But like, don't just expect these policies to fit the narrative that you're looking for. And that drives me crazy. But the other thing is too, is, okay, it works both ways. Like, you know what the policy is, but you chose not to follow through. Like sometimes the policy is very, very clear. You don't let anybody else use your ID badge. You don't let other people sign into your computer. Like, it's clear. That's a clear. But when I bring the policy to you, I'm the policy police. All I'm doing is just reminding you that you violated this policy. So it goes both ways sometimes. But I hate when they like instantly come to me and like, you should know rule 3 book in chapter 3. I'm like, I don't really know. Let me go look. Let me look it up. The other part that I hate about this policy police bullshit is that there are so many versions sometimes of the policy depending on where you work. Which one did you look at before you came to me, right? Did you go officially on where our official location for it, or did you have it in an old file? People save shit from like 10 years ago.
Yes.
And they'll point to it and they'll go, here, it says right here in 2001, we were doing this. I'm like, it's 2025, and guess what? That shit's been rewritten 5 times over. So like, stop. So that drives me crazy. But
I said that because to me, while it's not applicable to everybody, the majority of the policy police are the ones that are the most crooked. They're just better at hiding it, or they're better at bending the policy.
Yes.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, especially for the organizations that I've worked with for long periods of time, people come up and want to enforce a policy, and I'm like, what's the bigger picture here? Because you're not wrong. That is the policy, but let's look at the bigger picture. And the situation was, we had someone that no call, no showed for 3 days, and they're like, oh, it's termination. We're going to fire them. And I'm like, yeah, but did we do a welfare check on them? Did we call and see if they were okay? No, they haven't been here for 3 days. We're terminating them. I said, no, we're not. We're calling them. They had just lost their mother. I'm like, okay, we're going to pause. And we're going to wait for them to come back, and we're going to have this conversation. We're going to put them on the appropriate bereavement leave. Well, they didn't call out. They did not call out. I'm like, okay, have you lost a mother? You haven't? Okay, then let's be quiet. Like, every policy can't be enforced verbatim, because it's equivalent. Think about all the movies that you've seen about AI, all the movies you've seen about artificial intelligence that have taken over the world and murdered civilization. What's the number one reason they do it? Because they look at everything with a fine line and there's no exceptions. That you can't do that, because then as a civilization, we will kill each other, or in this case, terminate everybody. Like, not dead, but But like, you have to look at the situation, and just because we make an exception for them doesn't mean that's the only exception, because we want to be fair and consistent. So the goal is to be fair and consistent. So if we're making this exception because someone's immediate family member passed away, and we did our due diligence and followed up with them. Now, if they didn't answer us for 2 weeks, and we called them and we called them and we called them, I get it. It's still a terrible situation, but they didn't get back to us for 2 weeks, and we've tried calling them 16 times. Okay, you might have my support potentially on that termination then, but not after the 4th day and we made no attempt to reach the employee.
Right. That's always the biggest thing that people forget. And I think as HR, sometimes we forget it too, because we are sometimes inundated with policies and inundated with the day-to-day and we've all heard it, that we forget that the first word of our job is human. We have to put human in human resources, because there's nobody else there doing that. That's us.
I didn't know H stood for the human, so.
Oh, well, in your case, it might stand for something else.
It's helping resources.
Humor resources. I figured it'd be something to do with that poll, but anyways.
Ooh, spicy coin.
Mama Mel, do you have any thoughts on like this, policy stuff?
Take ownership of your own crap. Stop putting the blame on HR.
Good point. especially with, and I almost said this, Jake, whenever you were talking, I was thinking about it. People also forget there is some lingo in policies for a reason.
Yep.
And there's two spots to this, but one, there's always a reason it's in there because somebody did it. So now we had to put it in
Mhm.
there. So, like, please don't take the office computer outside and surf on it in the hurricane or whatever it is. It was there because one, probably somebody did it, but then also the biggest thing people forget, the lingo that I hear and see all the time is up to and including termination.
But it said termination, so we can term for it.
Right.
But Jake, operational Jake, it's up to.
Mm,
So no.
yeah, that like 99% of the time, if the policy says up to and including termination, is because there's so many variables that can be in those situations that you have to look at the whole picture. And I don't want to use the word you have to look at holistically because I hate that word with a passion. I want to throw punch someone who uses it. But you have
Holistic.
to look at it neutral and you have to look at the facts and then you have to figure out if empathy applies to it because some things are very black and white while many things are not black and white.
Well said. Well said. Empathy. Do we need to apply empathy here? Like you said with the person who lost their mother. Some people just they don't think at that point. They're like still in shock and grief. And so moving on, I do want to segue into the fake open door policy. I'll start this one off because this one's a passion of mine. I have always had an open door policy. That doesn't mean if my door's physically closed, I'm not going to talk to you. It just means that an open door policy gives a lot more room for what's the word I'm not thinking of? Transparency. Thank you. I was thinking about transition. But transparency gives you the opportunity for transparency, but every employee has to see that open door. It can't just be a couple of employees.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I have plenty of thoughts, but I'll let someone go first.
Mel, why don't you, Joe? You want to go first? For whatever reason, these things are triggering me, as they say.
I feel some type of way.
I'm feeling the same way. I you know what it is? Is like, okay.
You hold on, pause, Mama. You guys can't see him, but he is triggered, arms crossed, just ready to pounce.
The vein in the neck is palpating.
I think I see a vein in his forehead.
Okay. The floor is yours, Sir Llama.
He's gonna explode.
Well, look, I'll give my thoughts, and I think Big Llama might be able to feed off of it. All right, because llamas love to feed.
He needs a breath. Let's take a breath.
What I want to share, I've come across this situation in every company I've ever worked for because, once again, we can talk about those specific one-offs. That's that 1% where, yeah, open doors have been abused and doesn't work properly. 99% of the time, the open door does work. It is there. And it doesn't mean you're going to see action right away because a lot of times it's documentation purposes. But a lot of situations that I find is they're not using it the right way. How many times have you had someone come to your office, open door, file a complaint, you do an investigation, and it comes back to the person filed the investigation was part of the problem because they went and ran their mouth, they were gossiping, they were part of the issue, now they want to come open door. That's not, an open door is not going to be effective if you were part of the problem. Or with employees who are open dooring leadership, because that's a lot of times they're opening door leadership. You want to open door your boss, your salary manager, but there are supervisors between you and that salary manager. You cannot open door to a person that the person you're open dooring they report to them. That makes no sense. Like, oh, well, nothing happened. I opened door to Sarah. I'm like, but Sarah reports to Billy, and you open door Billy to Sarah, and Billy's Sarah's boss. What did you think was going to happen? No documentation occurred. She ain't trying to get fired. Who did you open door to? Well, I went to a supervisor. You didn't open door to the right person. And open door means you're open dooring to the person's supervisor that you're open dooring, not just a general manager, or go to HR if you don't want to go to ops. So I have seen 50% of the time it is user error on the open door policy.
Take a sip for every time Jake said
I-
open dooring
yes.
in that statement.
Yes.
It's a verb.
Take a sip
It is a verb.
of whatever you're. Whatever
I
you're
could have said
drinking.
OD, but then people would have thought something different.
What you say matters.
Yes, but no, I'm passionate about it because 50% of the time it is user error. You did not do it the right way, you abused it, or you just were not intelligent enough to understand how it operates.
So yes. So your points are well taken, sir. If I may
Thank
use
you. Very passionate.
the vague speak. Yes, you're very passionate in your delivery of those credible facts. No, for me, the open door policy, I hate this because you know that I can't keep things to myself, right? Like it is an open door. You can come in here and talk. But I always tell people, like, you can tell me whatever you want, but I am going to take an action with whatever information you provide. I always say that just to say, don't come to me with, secrets and nonsense, because this is not the place for it. But what really kind of gaslit me on this was that there's a point here on our notes. They say we'll get back to you, and they never do. Like, I absolutely hate when you go to someone's office, or you look for that person, or you tell them you're going to get back to them, and then the rest of the corporation has issues, and you're addressing all of those issues, and still, right, your leadership team should know you're dealing with issues, but you get that phone call. Hey, several people were looking for you. You weren't in your office. Is there, and then you had promised to get back to Susie, and she says that you never did. I'm like, I talked to Susie 30 minutes ago. What in the world was I going to do in 30 minutes to get back to Susie? I have to investigate. I got to write the report. I got to submit the ticket. I got to do all this other bullshit before I can even say anything to Susie. So, like, why don't you see that? And this is what gets me about this open door nonsense. It's like, the second you're not there, HR's never in their office. Like, dude, I went up and went to the bathroom for like 5 minutes. Give me my 5 minutes and come back. No, I walked over and he's never there. Like, bitch, this is the first time you ever called me. Like, this is the first time you ever come to see me. I'm never there. Okay. But I'm sorry. I'm worked up. I'm heated.
They watch your bathroom schedule. That's what it is.
Oh my God.
Or wait, Big Llama, I got it for you. And I have a suspicion this has happened to all of us. We come out of the bathroom and they're waiting for us outside the bathroom.
Oh no, they do that. And but I had to tell one dude one time, this is not the place for this discussion. I'm literally like walking into the bathroom. Yes.
Oh, I've had that happen.
Never.
Listen, I'm going to reveal something personal about me in restrooms. I cannot. I have anxiety of public restrooms. I honestly do. I cannot. I don't talk. There's a man codes that we follow. Simple nods, right? Nods is all. That's all you can do. That's what's allowed in my view when you go in the bathroom. The fact I even had to say multiple words to you while I'm going into the bathroom, you've put me in a position where I literally want to crawl out of my skin. But I walk into the bathroom. I see the person, they light up. I know they want to ask me something, and they start just talking about their issue. And I'm like, I'm trying to be polite. I got to go to the bathroom. I'm already anxious because you're in the bathroom with me and I don't like using the public restrooms. So I try to be polite and just look your way and go, could we talk about this another time? Like again, I've already like broken every law in my book, which is you don't say anything in the bathrooms. Now I'm like, hey, can we just talk about this another time? I don't think it's the right time for this conversation. Oh, it'll just take a minute. Now I am hands. I'm hands because when I say that, I expect you to walk away. I turn around and go handle my business. But now I'm handling my business. Unfortunately, that's a little graphic, but I'm handling my business and you're talking to me and I am so uncomfortable. And you're listening to things happening in this bathroom. And I just, again, I paint this picture to say, please, listeners, operations people, other HR, don't approach anybody in the bathroom. Leave them alone.
Yep.
That is sacred time. That is sacred
And I
time.
think
Let them be.
I think it's a good piece of advice to give to people in general. To even if you're dating somebody, don't have a conversation with them in the bathroom. All right, I get that. You
Text like
might be
all of
okay
us
with
normal
that.
people.
You know, nobody wants to talk to you in the bathroom until you've been married for at least 5 years. So don't do
Yeah.
it. And
I
I think we
wanna
should do a
ask
whole
Mom.
segment.
Yeah, we should. But I want to ask Mama Mel, what was so funny about my story about the bathroom? When I said, let me get personal about issues in the bathroom. I looked at you in the camera shot, and you were like, you were like 3 shades of red.
It's because I've heard this story before. I know this story, and I know how uncomfortable you were. But also, not too long ago, I was in the bathroom trying to, do my thing, and this girl was trying to talk to me about her 88 stall. I mean, we're in different stalls, right? And I'm like,
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I applied for an ADA, and what does that cover exactly? Well, what does ADA mean? And well, does it cover pregnancy? And because mental disorder can be considered a disability. And I'm like,
You better approve it right now.
ma'am.
Mentally talking to me, I'm gonna need an ADA.
So I was like, okay, this is not gonna happen. I can't do this. And so I'm like, I walked out, washing my hands. She's still going, right? She's still going. And so I'm like, hey, I have open office hours from this time to this time. Why don't you come by during that time? Better yet, let me reach out to your leader. I'll have them send you over and we can talk about it. I was like, there are other women in the restroom and I don't want them to hear, the things that your personal stuff. So I want to be
We don't want them
very
to hear that you
mindful
have
of that.
issues.
Yeah, but one, because I'd heard that story before, but that happened to me like this week.
Mm.
And also, your thing with public restrooms is kind of funny to me. The rules are hilarious.
The rules, or do you have a different thing for public restrooms?
No, his rules are hilarious.
The rule is the rule. Like you do not say more than one word. In fact, if one word has to be uttered, you violated the law.
Man code.
No, listen. This is human code. This is, and let me make it friendly for HR speak. Right? It's not man law. It's not restrictive to a gender. It is simply law. Okay, it is the law of a bathroom. You're in there to do disgusting things. Okay, you're there to expel waste from your body. Okay, you're there to blow your nose. You're there to do other things, expel the waste. Why are we having conversations in the bathroom? Why are we talking? Get off your phone. I want to flush the toilet. If I gotta go to the bathroom and you're on your phone, I'm like, maybe they can hear me peeing. I got issues. I got issues.
Hey, look, Big Mama, there's 2 rules to the bathroom, and I'm sure you'll agree with me. No talking, and try to keep as much distance between each other.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yes.
If there's 3 stalls, don't get in that middle stall. If I'm in the left
better
stall,
get on that end.
That is law. That is the law.
Don't go to that middle urinal. Now, if we don't have a choice, so be it. But no talking and as much distance as physically capably possible.
Right.
It-
Right. If there's
Mama-
16 stalls, why stand next to me?
Mama
It's like
And
the
they
Mel,
parking
do
I'll
it.
spot.
tell
It's like
you,
the
They do
parking
it so
spots. You
bad.
got the entire row to yourself. You had to come park next to me.
Yeah.
since
So
since
we,
Mama
I don't
Mel
want to go down the rabbit hole.
is of the opposite sex, I'll say that I can because I do know, but there is like go to a baseball game, and I'm going to give you this example for a reason. I walked in, and not kidding you, there are 12 urinals. 6 of them are being used, and you want to know the order?
Yes, no,
Person,
yes, no.
nobody, person, nobody, person, and that, like men just
Yes.
They knew the
like,
rules.
it's the law. I'm telling you, I
It's the
like
law.
that.
They understood the assignment.
Yes, there's
Yes.
no misunderstanding unless it's an emergency, and a bro will understand a bro's got an emergency.
Right.
Yeah. And for those listeners that like to be sarcastic and think about the large stadiums that don't have separate urinals but just one whole bucket that goes down about 6 feet, it's applicable to every 1 feet. Give a good 1 foot between you and the next
Yes.
person. Don't stand
Yes.
next to me where I can. If I twist a little bit and my elbow can touch you, you're too close.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
too close.
Cheek to
I'll
cheek.
stand back. I'll wait. You go first.
And one last PSA for bathrooms: make them for make the stall walls for big men. That's all. I'm tired of squeezing into a small urinal stall. Just saying. All right.
That's a whole
So-
segment we covered in 15 minutes.
Yes.
Exactly.
So moving on to the next topic of this, we have the office fun killers. I know I've heard it 1,000 times. HR kills all the fun, but then they want us to employee engagement. It's always fun. So the HR bans inside jokes. They don't let us have Nerf gun fights, and they won't let me shoot so and so in the eye with the Nerf gun.
Yeah. They
Happy
don't want to
hour
stab.
events.
They don't want us stabbing balloons in the office.
Exactly. Back to one of our past podcasts. But the happy hour events, I have known it and I've been a part of it where we brought in a margarita machine. I was not in HR at that time. We brought in a margarita machine, and I was just a good old happy employee. Emphasis on the happy because I had a lot of margarita.
Okay, happy hour. Okay, any outside of work activities, I'm not going.
It was during work.
I'm
with
not
you.
going. I don't want to. I don't want to participate. And please know, listeners, fans, friends, or friends. It's not because I'm antisocial and I don't want to be your friend. It's I'm protecting myself. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to be called into court. I don't want to know what happened. I want to go my merry way home to my family. I don't want to participate, and it's not because I don't like you, and I'm protecting myself.
You know what? I had an employee stop me in the past because I never sat in the lunchroom with anyone. If I got invited to birthday parties, I would go sing happy birthday and leave. I kept my distance from everybody. And I had a girl, I was in the lunchroom one day, and she comes up and she's like, "Why are you so unsociable? Like, we were over there singing happy birthday and you just walked away when we were done." And I looked at her and I was like, this is probably not the right time to do it. And I looked at her and I said, "Look, we'll say Jimmy. We'll call him Jimmy for the sake of the example." I said, "I want you to imagine Jimmy just sexually assaulted you. And you wanted to file a report, but I'm over there having lunch and eating cake with Jimmy 3 times a week. Are you going to feel comfortable coming to me after that?" And she was like, "Well, no." And I was like, "Now you see it's not personal. I need to be objective when dealing with investigations. I need to be that person that whether you think I'm friendly or not, you need to be able to come up to me and have a conversation with me." And I said, most importantly, y'all don't pay my bills and I don't want to get fired. So it's like, don't take it personal. Like, I get some of us are better at making it seem like we're your friend while we're not your friend, but we never talk to you. But some of us just don't talk to you because we don't want to be your friend and we don't want it to seem we're like your friend. So don't take offense to it. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. Nothing personal.
It's not you, it's me. Big
Yeah.
Llama, you got anything on that?
Well, I follow the Mama Mel philosophy of I do not go to company social gatherings. I don't. Honestly, I have a little bit of social anxiety, a little bit. I don't like being in situations with people that I hardly know. I can mask it and have fun with it. I really can, but to get there, um, I don't like being there. It's uncomfortable for me. But honestly, it's Mama Mel's point is actually really, really good, which is there's going to be things that happen at these social functions because you're outside of the boundaries of work that are going to bleed back into the office.
Mhm.
You're either going to get too drunk, you're going to say something you shouldn't say because you feel open, right? And that all always comes back into the office. That and I'm a homebody is like I prefer being with my tribe, my family, right, than to be out there with other people. So I always tell people I'm a terrible friend, but it's on purpose. Like I literally know I know that about myself because I really the emphasis is my family. So that's like a preference thing, but honestly, that's a huge thing. And if you're an HR professional and you have sometimes you have to network and sometimes you
Mhm.
have to, go and do the thing where you make an appearance and then get out of there because trust me, no good comes of it when we start taking tequila shots and your HR manager is dancing on the table. Like there's nothing good that's going to come from that. Now,
Well,
Yeah, a
and
show.
well, and the other thing about being fun killers is some of you don't practice any freaking common sense when it comes to making recommendations about things we
Oh,
should do in the office. Like, okay,
yes.
for example, they've asked me 100 different times, can we do this fun activity? And I just look at them and go, can we really think about what you just asked me? So one of the asks was, can we play dodgeball, managers versus employees?
Hmm.
I said,
Decent.
where are you going to play this? Like I already knew the answer was hell no, hell to the no. But I was like, I just like I wanted to bring it back to safety. That's how I wanted to present it. I said, where will you have said activity? Oh, there's a grass patch. Okay, where? In the back of the building that nobody goes to. Okay, where our hobos live. Okay,
no
so
cameras, no cameras.
no cameras. Okay. Have we walked the floor? Are there glass? Is there anything that's going to hurt our employees? Oh, I don't know. Well, go check that out. What if it rains? Here I am thinking like, oh, we're still going to do it. What if it rains? Um, then I was like, what kind of ball are we throwing? What kind of Nerf or like real like dodgeballs? Like, what are we doing here? How serious is this game? Again, I know the answer is hell to the no, and it's stupid, but I have to go along with this. And then I get them to the realization that this is a really bad idea. And obviously, how do they sell it to their committee? Oh, HR said we can't do it.
Oof.
Mm.
Fun
You
puppies, buzzkill.
you are an absolute idiot for asking that question. That's all. But again,
Big Llama, I got one. The stupidest question I've ever been asked, and this was a few companies ago.
So far.
A manager wanted to have a sleepover at her house with all the employees.
oh,
Never mind. I
my
take that back.
God.
Whoa.
Oh.
For team bonding. They're all
At
going to
their
sleep on the
house.
floor in the living room. They're going to have popcorn and watch movies and do games, and no one's sleeping in a bed. They're all going to sleep on the floor in like sleeping bags. But it's just a really great opportunity to do team bonding.
This is not camp. This is not Boy Scouts. This is not a sleepover.
You can imagine the number of accusations for a company sponsored event, leadership led, that's going to come out of that. I just looked at her and I said, no. and And as I walked away from that conversation, I imagined the movie from Pitch Perfect where Pat Amy's like, sometimes I think I should do math, and then better not. Like, you think it's a good idea, but it's not.
Yeah,
Or no,
that
she said
is
crystal meth. She said crystal meth.
What
that
happened to
that
like
takes it.
going to like, you know, a bowling alley, Top Golf? No, let's all sleep over at my, first of all, my house is my domain. It is my area of peace and quiet. And if I invite you to my home, you could consider yourself very lucky. No.
No, I don't even want my family members at some point at my house half the time. I don't want people I work with. Sometimes I don't even want my kids at home. So, I love them,
But they gotta go.
I mean, the listening audience, we have to describe this. The level of shock that was on
Yes.
each of our faces when Jake tells us that the word sleepover comes out. It's just sleepover. We were like, what? Like, that was what my face said. I said nothing, but that's what my face was saying. Then I looked at Mama Mel's face, mouth open, like frozen. I thought her Wi-Fi acted up again, and then like Dr. Green disappeared. He was just like rolling over there. I don't know. It's crazy.
Almost fell on my chair.
But just so you know, I did receive a few comments from her team that were very upset that they didn't get to do this.
Oh my!
Because it's HR's fault.
Because we're the fun killer. I am so sorry that I don't want you to get raped. I am so sorry that I don't want you sexually assaulted. I am so sorry that I don't want to lose a multi-million-dollar lawsuit because I allowed it, and I don't want to get fired and want to be able to feed me and my family and afford toilet paper. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I apologize for that. Sometimes we just want you to continue breathing.
Yeah, you don't know what people have in their homes. That's like the stranger danger van, right? Like, you don't go in the van, you don't do sleepovers. That's it.
They got free Wi-Fi.
Free candy.
Yeah.
So let's segue back to this one, and I think if I am right, this is going to be one of the last ones, and I take this one very personally. The black hole of hiring.
Yeah.
You apply for a job. HR ghosts you. It's HR. HR didn't call me back. And months later, they reach out with, we'd love to move forward, but you've already found another job. Let me tell you, there are so many facets. There are so many facets of HR that
wrong degree, Dr. Green. Wrong degree.
Look, I truly am triggered by this because people lump HR into everything. They're the people that fire you. They're the ones that do this and that. And I'm like, no, they're truly, unless you're an HR of one, which there's a lot of those, but you still have to remember that there's different departments of HR: training, employee relations, learning and development, and then, of course, in this topic, talent acquisition, aka recruiting. And it may not be us. HR may not be the sole reason. It may be that recruiter in talent acquisition. So point the finger over there. But always get an ATS that will tell you, hey, I'm so sorry, we decided to move on with another candidate. That's the nicest thing you can do for the ones who applied and took that time.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you 100%. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm the devil's advocate for those managers and those HR people that are not replying back to you. Do you know how many times I've interviewed for a job? What's the job description? They got to manage profit and loss reports. They have to do critical thinking and build strategic business plans. They have to have understanding of very complex pieces of equipment. And do you know who threw their name in that hat? That cashier at McDonald's.
Yeah,
No shade. No shade.
If I could
None.
reply back to your email and call you stupid, I would. But I don't want to get fired. So then I just don't call you. And I don't give you a rejection email because you don't even deserve a rejection email.
You're taking it personal.
So
But
devil's advocate, just don't do it.
But I do agree with you for those candidates that are qualified and took the time to do those really annoying 72 question surveys
Ooh,
to even get to the end of it, or they applied
it.
to it and it's a 2 hour and 89-minute process. No, you absolutely deserve something, a gold star at a minimum for getting to that finish line.
Yeah. Well, I don't I agree with you to a point, but honestly, hey, we're vague speaking tonight. No, but honestly, I think as a courtesy to the person applying, a response, or yes, no, maybe, no, it's not going to happen for you. Something to just give you so I know I don't need to worry about this particular position if I'm applying for jobs, right? Because for so many times, either you really need the job, right, or you are looking to do something different, or somebody told you, hey, this might be a great opportunity for you, and then you get no information. Oh, did we hold on.
He disagreed with you on that. He said deuces.
Yeah. He took
So,
it very personal.
I don't want my personal feelings to think for y'all to think I'm a terrible person. I'm not. I do realistically send rejection emails to everyone I'm not going to apply to. But it does make a little bit of hate exist in my heart. And I know hate has no home here, but it does sometimes because I'm human. I just hold it in though. So
I just think and I know Dr. Green, I think, went through that for a while. And so
we'll do it now.
Unfortunately, I think he needs to apply for new Wi-Fi is what he needs to do. No, but I just think it's disrespect. I think it's disrespectful to your candidates. It's disrespectful to their time and effort and putting in an application, and it's also your company image. It's like, if you treat candidates like this, how do you treat employees, right? And you may be a great company, you may have great operational people, and you may have a great organization, but I'll tell you this: when I'm on the upswing of this job search issue, and you come after me, or you are asking me for stuff, I'm gonna remember how you treated me as a candidate. And so I'll remember that you didn't respond. I'll remember your name. And guess what? It could always come back around to you, right? Like, okay, now you are looking for a job. And then I see, oh, that's Jody Smith. I remember Jody Smith. That bitch ghosted me. She didn't write me back. I applied for the job. She told me I had a great job. I had 3 interviews with this company, and I never got a call back. They just stopped calling me, and I kept emailing and da-da-da. So yeah, now that I see Jody Smith, you're not on the list. You've just made the list of not getting hired by me. So you have to be careful, because they say it's a small world, right? Like, you will run into someone in another company, another location, and you just never know. So I say, treat everyone with respect. And candidates are looking for jobs, and some of them have the luxury of having a job, some of them don't. And when they don't, they are struggling. And so there's a human side to this. And I will say, I know Dr. Green just kind of was saying it's impacting him a lot, because he's kind of gone through this. But to be honest, it's like, you are disrespecting that person, that human being, who's like just trying to make a living. And yeah, and obviously, if you're out there, don't apply for jobs you don't qualify for, unless you're close. Here's my pro tip: unless you're close to the qualification, right? If you just miss a couple items and you're a pretty good candidate, I think that's a good thing to do. But don't apply for something way outside of your scope. Like, if you know you're not there, don't do it. But again, treat people well. Just respond. Send them an email. It takes 2 minutes to tell someone, hey, it's not going to work out for you, right? Or hey, we're having a hard time right now, and we're, just hold tight if you can. So I don't know.
Yeah, the
Good
rejection
point.
email button is only a click away. It don't even take 2 minutes. It takes
The
a click.
ATS system should give
Yeah.
you a generic, even though it's generic, I still want to, especially if it's something I took time on, and y'all might have went through this while I was loading back in, but if I took the time to go through your work day, and everybody knows that work day takes time to apply
Yeah.
through. If I took the time for 15 minutes to do all that for you, the least you could do is be like, hey, thank you so much for applying, blah, blah, blah. It give me at least a generic message. And my last comment on this, and I'll let it go. Leave a dang salary on there and make it realistic. Don't put 100,000 to 200,000. That's just insanity.
Yeah. Be upfront with your money.
Right. I'm upfront with, I need that money, so I need to be upfront with how much I'm getting.
They're gonna hit
Right.
you with a competitive pay.
Oh, competitive pay. Like, what's competitive to you?
I
$1
hate that
million.
question. Yeah. How much do you think you're worth to this job? How much do you
Ooh.
want to make? I'm like, I want to make enough to retire today. You gonna pay me that? No. So just tell me how much you actually pay, and let's talk. Let's talk real salary. Annoying as shit.
And no, that's true. I mean, and if you're a decent human being, I have met there's some leaders that will say 60 to 75. And I'm like, that's a realistic salary range. And they instantly up front tell me, we're starting you off at the top.
Yeah, that's great.
They're like, that's it's there for that reason. So why not let me make you there? And I'm like, I appreciate that. This is probably good.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Right. So
Mhm. Take us to our last one, Doctor.
let's see. Oh, look, Big Llama, don't get triggered.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Already crossed his arm.
Is there a bathroom one I didn't see on this list?
That HR is not your friend, and this is realization. No, the HR is not your friend revolution, because they seem to think that we are awful people because we're just trying to keep it separate. We're trying to keep it chill. Like, like you're dating a girl, you're still trying to keep it chill. You got to know when a time and a place is. And HR is very lonely when it comes to doing things. And like we talk to our spouses, about things. It's just normal because they're the ones we can talk to. But please do not expect me to give you this happy hunky dory hug in Walmart when we run into each other.
Oh, okay, listen. No.
You said me.
No.
I'm not triggered. Mama Mel got triggered. She
Do you
said, hell no.
remember? He said Walmart. I said nope. Do you
I'm sorry, Target.
remember when we were kids going to school and we would see our teachers at like the grocery store?
Yes.
Oh.
It's like you're seeing a caged animal in the wild, and you're just like, oh my God, like they have a life.
You're real?
The amount of times that I have seen employees or leaders or peers outside of work and I get that look, I'm like, well, no shit, Susan. I have to grocery shop too.
Dang, Susan's getting hit.
I know, poor Susan. Wouldn't you figure I eat toilet paper? Oh, I'm getting all worked up. Toilet paper? I have a restroom too.
For the listening audience, she is falling apart at the seams right now.
My child is jumping in this belly.
Just tell Susan, don't talk to me while I'm in the bathroom, okay?
Yes, don't mind the beverage of choice that I have in my cart, Sally. Mind your business. Look away. I don't want to talk about your ADA right now. I'm not at work. We're not there.
This is the reason why I'm drinking this, Sally.
You are the reason.
Mama Mal, just wait till you get that baby bump, and then all those random people come up and want to touch you.
Oh,
Ooh. Listen, it's
HR is really not your
happened.
friend.
We're not your
happened.
friends. Don't touch me.
It's happening.
Don't
I'm
touch
like,
me. If
my
I'm in
body,
the
my
middle of
choice. Go
Walmart,
away.
when I'm in the middle of Walmart with my kids, don't touch my kids. Don't be like, oh my God, they're so give me a hug. I'm like, don't touch my kids.
Especially
Yeah.
if you're in HR and you see those people see you and want to hug your kid. It's like,
Mm.
nah, bro. Nah. Keep yourself back 50 feet. I was going to give you 30, but your breath is killing me.
There's a fine line between friendly and friends. I am always going to be friendly with you when we're at work because I don't want to get fired. I'm always going to be a friendly HR girl, right? You can, my door open, come in, let's take care of your issue. Yes, I want to, and I mean that wholeheartedly. I want to take care of your issue. I don't, there are certain things in work that I don't like to mess with, specifically people's livelihoods, right? To include like their pay and stuff. I want to make sure that stuff's taken care of. But I do not keep pictures of my family on my desk. I do not have I have some items, right? Like I like to decorate my space. But then you're like, this is actually a true story. Many years ago, when I was in my first marriage, one of my employees saw a picture of my ex-husband and they were like, oh, how do you know him?
Uh-oh.
And I was like,
shit.
how do you
know him?
And I was like, that's my husband. And she's like, hi, we lived on the same street. We used to ride the bus together. And then I moved away and I haven't seen him in so many years. Oh, I'm so happy he's married to you. Oh, you guys look so cute together.
Oh.
But that could have gone like sideways really quickly had I not been emotionally intelligent and been like, oh, that's my husband, okay, cool. But my immediate thought was, how do you know him, girl? What kind of conversation do we need to have? Anywho.
I agree with you on the pictures because
I
I had someone walk into my office one time. I'm the HR guy. Walks in my office, looks at the picture of my husband and my kids, and goes, "I didn't know you were gay." And I was like, "Thank you."
Smack.
Wasn't
I
aware
literally
that you
just
were a
looked at him and said,
sign.
I didn't know what to say, so I was just like, "Thank you."
Thank you.
I don't know how
Thank
to
you for your lovely
respond.
comment.
You're like, I didn't realize I had to wear a sign. I will tattoo it on my forehead next time. Jeez,
I must say, do you walk around and advertise who you sleep with? No, it's not your business.
I mean, I guess if you have all their pictures on your desk.
Well, first of all, it was presumptuous. Okay, I mean,
yeah,
I'm not the most
could have been your brothers.
I'm not the most discreet person out there, but I mean, my kids and my husband
That's
are
true.
Mexican. I'm white. I look like the adopted one in my family. So
Fine
like,
line,
who's to say they could have been my brother and his kids?
Fine line.
Right,
I'll be
right.
friendly, but that does not mean we're friends.
It goes back to the same saying of Big Llama, you said this at the beginning. This is not Olive Garden. When you're here, we're family. We're not doing that because I can fire my friends. I can do all those things. I can fire somebody who's not even my friend. I can fire an acquaintance. I can fire a person I hate. But the biggest dilemma is when you start considering those as family, it's a struggle to fire family because then emotions get involved. And it's not you as HR, it's their reaction, their side, because they're going to put that into an emotional state. Why are you firing me? We're like brothers. Bro, you just slapped the operations vice president across the face and then on the butt cheek. So no, you're fired.
No, I mean, I would say this: there's two moments that you realize that HR is not your friend. And again, if you're open about how you operate, most people will understand it from the start. But if you're not, if you just maybe you don't need to, is a couple things. One time they're going to figure out that you don't know their name.
Oof. That's true.
There's hundreds of them and one of you. And so
You don't know who I am?
sometimes, well, exactly. So the break room conversation, right? The first time you realize HR is not your friend, you think HR is your friend. And again, we're not trying to fake anything. We're just having honest conversations. We're being friendly. We're doing our job, and we're hearing you out, offering sage advice, which we should be charging you for. But again, you think you're starting to develop a relationship with this HR person, and you see them in the break room, and they're like, "Hey, you, yeah, what's up, you? How,
Hi there.
yeah, what's up, guy?" And they're like that, like the second they like you can see it on their face. It's like they like I say, never meet your heroes. They're like all of a sudden they've melted away. They're like, oh man, they doesn't even know my name. And it's not, again, not that we can't or remember names, but sometimes depending on the size of the organization or how many people
Yes.
you support, it might be physically impossible to know everybody's name. And if you don't have ID cards or identifiable marks, you will then yeah, sometimes you remember the specials, but yeah, that's when you realize HR is not your friend and you feel really bad. The second time you realize it is when HR is sitting in on your disciplinary action or they're
Ooh,
terminating you.
yeah. Mm.
And you thought, oh, I'm in good with the HR guy. And then all of a sudden, I'm walking you out the door. And so
We're driving you home.
never
Don't
driving you home.
drive them home.
Never. But hey, you want to go to sleepover? No. No, but
Want to
but
stab a
no,
balloon together?
but those are the realization moments that they're heartbreaking because
Yeah.
I think I've been there too. Like you meet like a high level executive, C-suite executive, and the one time they're told who you are, right? They're like, oh, that's like before they go, oh yeah, that's Kenny. He put the project presentation together, and then they come up to you that one moment. They're like, Kenny, great job, great job, and I'm like, oh, score, the CEO or whatever knows my name. And then the second time you see them, they don't even acknowledge you, or they're like, hey, guy. But so I've been there myself. So it's a shitty feeling, but it's not done on purpose. And I think that's what I want to get out of this whole podcast tonight is like, people blame us for things. People use us as their scapegoat, and then you form opinions about us because you don't understand and realize the scope and magnitude of the job. And so the best of us fall into these categories in some shape or form. But I know those are the two moments of realization that you go, oh, and it hurts. It hurts that person. Because I didn't know their name, it didn't hurt me. But
Mhm.
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. For those of you listening, like, this guy's an asshole. Like,
Curses a lot too.
yeah. Well, sorry. I have a little bit of freedom.
You were feeling triggered. I get it, man.
Mhm.
If you think I curse
And-
now, you should check out my other channel. Free plug.
I
Go
think
ahead.
we should wrap this up a little bit and give our advice. And
Okay.
I'll go ahead and start with Mama Mel. Tell us what's your advice on all of these subjects that you would give.
I think they are very comical even to HR, and we all know them. They certainly give me the comical relief sometimes during the day, knowing that this is what our employees think of us, because in some scenarios, it's best. It's best that you know that we are not your friend, but it's not personal. We just have to be the middleman, right? And we have to be neutral, all the time neutral. Again, it's not personal. Um, we're human. We have stuff going. We grocery shop. Yes, we do.
And
If you
drink.
see us at the grocery shop, it's extremely acceptable to like do a little nod. You know, some restroom laws may apply to other areas. A little nod, a little hey, you know, but that's totally fine. But we don't want to talk work when we're not at work, and neither should you. Like, if you're an hourly agent or an hourly employee, like you should not want to talk about work outside of work. Leave it be. You've logged off for the day. You're done.
Preach it.
So, yes, we're in human resources, but we are human, number one. And I'll leave it at that.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. Yeah, that does sound good. Jake from HR, what do you got for advice to the listeners?
I think Mama Mel took the first half of it. I'll take the last half. We are just a resource. We are not law. We are not God. We do not make final decisions in the majority of companies. Mama Mel covered the human part. I just want to remind people we are a resource. Whether we're effective or not has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with the people who are utilizing us as a resource. That's all I got.
Thank you, Jake from HR. The Big Llama, what's your advice?
Stop blaming us for shit. No, I'm just kidding. No,
For real.
honestly, there are always this is absolutely what I believe is that there's always some truth in some of these topics, right? In some of the things that we cover. So, when we went down the list, right? We're here for you. Lie. It's not a lie. There are things that we can and cannot do, right? The masters of vague speak. There's reasons we have to talk the way that we have to talk, and there's reasons that because we're being asked not to reveal something, or it impacts investigations or impact. So there's reasons that you have to cover how you speak, how you're acting. All of this stuff that we've talked about tonight are like true legitimate things that I think unfortunately gives us as HR professionals a bad rap. And I want to stress to those that are in the HR field, like, you have to fight through some of this stuff and then acknowledge if you do some of this stuff. Like, that's the other thing too, is like, you as an HR, you could get a God complex. You really could, like, oh no, I'm untouchable. I'm hanging out with the CEO, whatever. Look, that's all well and done, but like, you have to understand, if you're going to be a good professional at this, know what your faults are, know that you might fall into some of these things we talked about tonight, and then just work on it. All of us have something to work on. I think that's what I get out of all this. This was actually a fun, lively conversation, but underneath it, there are real people. HR, we are people. We have feelings and emotions. Now, we may have a rougher or easier like exterior, like we might, but underneath it, there's a reason why we drink. There's a reason why we have to confide in our wives or our husbands, right? There are things that we do to cope, because we hear a lot of ugly things. So that's the thing that's not celebrated, right? These things we talked about tonight, yeah, great, fun stuff. But there are some dirty, ugly things about HR, which take its toll. So just remember that next time you want to blame HR for something, operations manager, or if you're an HR person that you feel like it's a thankless job, guess what? It is. And it's meant to be, because you are the scapegoat. But it doesn't mean that you lose yourself. That's my information there.
So we are the GOAT.
We are the GOAT, the scapegoat.
Right. I like that.
Thank you for firing me, Big Llama.
For what?
What did you say?
I said thank you for firing me, Big Llama.
You're welcome.
And that actually brings it to my piece of advice. And I'm glad y'all didn't touch on it, because I have tried for years to perfect termination. And what I mean is, it's truly not what you say. is how you're giving that delivery. Hey, I know this is unfortunate. You know, things happen, whether it's a layoff or whether it's termination. I have had it multiple times where I say the policy wasn't followed and we have to hold everybody to the same standard. And it's unfortunate that at this moment, we're going to have to let you go.
That made me uncomfortable.
Have empathy, have true genuineness, and be authentic about it. And I have been, this is not to toot my own horn, but I have been thanked after I have let someone go. And that made me uncomfortable.
Was it the tone? Because the tone got me.
Yeah.
It was the tone. It's always the tone on how you say it. Now, if you go in going, like Jake from HR, man, you know you done jacked up. You know you did wrong. You violated that policy. So you know what? You're fired.
No,
You're a very empathetic person.
Yeah, what did he say with the cardboard baler incident? We will call you if and when something, but I'm telling you right now, you're both fired.
That was actually a good one.
That was good.
Well, and in my defense, that was I wasn't technically in HR at the time. I was still in ops, but it was a good story.
That was a good story.
Was really good.
Well,
all right, so let's take it on home.
So
thank you guys for listening. And Jake, go ahead, do your thing.
Thank you all for attending class today. Until we call you into the office next time, remember, hate has no home here.
I absolutely love that ending.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Good night, everybody. Well, that's another episode of the Four Friends Trying to Figure Out HR. We didn't solve anything, but hey, at least we tried.
And by tried, we mean we laughed, we overshared, and we probably violated some HR guidelines ourselves.
But remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Don't take our advice. Seriously, don't.
And if your HR manager asks, you've never heard of us or this podcast.
Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and join us the next time as we keep trying to figure out HR and fail spectacularly.
Now, go be productive, or at least pretend to be.
And tell your boss that I said hi.
Tell your mom I said hello.
Tell your daddy I said hey.
And remember, hate has no home here.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week again for a fresh round.